This conference will now be recorded.
Hello, I'm Rick Ashcroft, SNAME's Director of Technology and Education, with a presentation overview on the SNAME T&R program. The T&R program is organized by committees and panels. There are 10 broad subject committees, which you can see here: hydrodynamics, hull structure, ships, machinery, etc., and also ship production, parentheses, NSRP. The ship production committee is shown in our T&R program has a one-to-one correspondence with the panels that are in the NSRP. Subject committees form specialist panels. The panels are normally chaired by a subject matter expert, but they don't have to be. All it needs is someone who's enthusiastic about the subject and willing to take leadership role. Members are interested persons at all stages of professional development, from students to subject matter experts and everything in between. The organization is fluid and constantly changing. Panels are activated and deactivated depending on level of interest and membership support. Panels can form working relationships with other panels for specific projects. As an example, 8 or 9 years ago, the Ship's Structures Committee and the Hydrodynamics Committee formed a joint panel to study hydrodynamic loads on structures. And that joint panel generated a T&R bulletin. And once the bulletin was released for distribution, that joint panel dissolved. Ad hoc panels are formed to study special subjects outside the domain of existing panels. As an example, we created a panel on capsize egress and survivability after the seawall capsized. That ad hoc panel had a functional life of about 2 years, after which it had completed all of the tasks in its original charter. It reported its findings to the executive committee and to the membership at large, and then was made inactive. The leadership of the T&R organization, the T&R steering committee, is chaired by the functional vice president of technology and comprised of all 10 committee chairs and other invited experts and concerned people. That T&R steering committee currently has a membership of 24. Panel chairs are appointed by committee chairs. Committee chairs are appointed by the T&R steering chair, and membership is open to all SNAME members, and joining a panel is as simple as asking the chair. So we encourage our members to join the panel and participate in the T&R program. This is the current org chart. Across the top, you can see the 10 committees, and underneath them, there are sub-panels. In my color coding here, the blue economy panel, EC15, is colored green because it's less than a year old. And the 2 yellow panels under the Ship Design Committee are there because their panel chairs have stepped down, and we have not yet been able to find someone willing to take on the role of panel chair for either one. If that situation remains for about 12 months, those panels will be declared inactive. So what do we do? Well, T&R committees and panels, they do research. Panels, under the guidance of their parent committee, will address specific research needs in their topic areas. They'll create events or promote meetings to have an understanding of their specific topics. They'll conduct projects against specific objectives. They could be informal or formal. And the output would be publications, bulletins, guides, or just basic research reports. What's expected of the participants? Well, members can be at any stage of professional development, from subject matter experts or to just people with a simple interest in the area, but no experience whatsoever. Most meetings are by GoToMeeting or teleconference, and we encourage people to join, even if it's just to listen. You can learn a lot by listening. Even after more than 45 years in the business, it's a bad day when I haven't learned something new. Anyone at any level of experience is free to ask questions or to provide input for discussion by the group. And so it's a very interactive environment. Well, what have we done during 2020 and 2021? Well, very exciting. Panel OC10, Ocean Renewables, started setting up a joint industry project to fund specification development for a T&R bullet. with the tongue-twisting name Guidelines for Application of ISO 19905-1 and 19905-4 to Wind Turbine Installation Jackups. Now, the reason that they wanted to do this is those two ISO bulletins, they are really geared for jackups that are working in the offshore oil industry. And while there are similarities between jackups in the offshore oil business and wind turbine installation jackups, there's also some very significant differences. Offshore jackups tend to move 2, maybe 3 times a year. The wind turbine jackups, not only are they 3 times the size or 4 times the size of an offshore oil jackup, but they may move every 2 to 3 days. So it's a very different working environment. So right now, we expect to have 10 funding participants and 18 or maybe 20 guest participants who will provide in-kind support. This project is very close to kicking off. Right now, we're in the process of getting contracts signed. So I expect that within the next week or two that we will have this program up and running, and it'll go for a period of 2 years. Last year, in support of the SNAME Maritime Convention 2020, the T&R program provided 2 panel sessions on renewable energy and 10 papers and presentations as part of the main program. This year, in support of SMC 2021, we already have in the works a full day on marine forensics, a whole day track dedicated to that, providing 3 topical breakfasts, 4 panel sessions, and again, 10 papers, which will be selected from the 43 abstracts that were submitted. It's the most we've ever had submitted for a T&R track. Another place where it's been very active, John Dedola, who's the current functional VP T&R, started this series of webinars last year, and they've been very successful, very well attended. And you can see this is the list of the ones that have been done in 2020 and so far in 2021, and those that have been scheduled, such as the autonomous marine vehicles presentation, which is scheduled for April. This is an area where I think there's a good opportunity for a collaboration between NSRP and SNAME, because I know from all the NSRP projects I was involved with that there needs to be a technology transfer. And a lot of that gets done by presentations at SNAME events. Well, sometimes SNAME events don't correspond very well in time with when you have material that you want to present. So here's an opportunity perhaps where a technology transfer could be done as a webinar presentation. The webinars are recorded and they're made available through the SNAME library for people that can't attend the actual event but want to look at it later. So that's been a very good program for us, and it's a place where I think we could work together. T&R bulletin activities during 2020 and 2021. Last year, we released Bulletin 5-4 for wind tunnel testing of offshore units, and was physically completed. The development of a propulsion shafting system designed for commercial vessels, that is physically completed. It's at headquarters now, just waiting for the final formatting verifications and the addition of front material. Updates in process. We try to review our bulletins every 5 years now. The first bulletin that was actually supported by NSRP as a big update in 2015 of the Guide for Sea Trials. We're taking a look at that now just to make sure it is up to date. There are a few small modifications we want to make because of EEDI and just some minor changes in process. But that should be done this year. The thermal insulation report, that one is a much more involved update that will involve quite a bit of analysis and also some physical testing to validate the analyses. So it's going to be a very large project. We're currently getting budget information together for it. I believe that we're going to have to set up another JIP, not as big as the one for the wind turbine installation jackups, but it's going to need financial support beyond what SNAME can provide. So we'll be working on that this year. As a partner to the wind tunnel testing bulletin that was released last year, the group is now working on 5.4a for CFD, the analysis side of the wind tunnel testing. That is in final editing. It's already had one overall edit. The technical people are now working on incorporating some modifications to that were recommended. And I do expect that will be released later this year. It's very nearly complete now. And as a large project that we're undertaking, the conversion of the submersible vehicle system design reference book to a series of T&R bulletins was undertaken. Roy Thomas has assembled a team of 26 subject matter experts who are now taking the various chapters of that book and converting them into a series of T&R bulletins. We've had 6 sets of chapters have been sent out for editorial review, and I think that's in very good shape to have all of the T&R bulletins that will make up what was that reference work released by the second quarter of 2022. That's a pretty major undertaking. Well, thank you very much for listening to the presentation. If you want any more information on the T&R program, how we might be able to collaborate, or just want to talk T&R, please feel free to contact me on my mobile phone or send me email. Thank you very much.